My sister laughed at my modest lifestyle and excluded me from Christmas, saying, "We only need real family." I left, and Grandpa took action that changed everything for her. This happened last year, and I'm finally ready to share it. It's a long story, but the ending makes it worthwhile. My family believed they could treat me poorly without consequences. They were completely wrong. Here's the background. I'm 32 years old, live in Denver, and earn about $180,000 a year. That sounds solid, but compared to my family's spending habits, it apparently isn't impressive. This story involves years of tension, public embarrassment, and what turned out to be a powerful turnaround. Growing up, my sister Chloe and I were treated very differently. While she entered beauty pageants and dated well known athletes, I focused on school, saving money, and building a stable future. My parents, Thomas and Susan, made it clear early on who the favorite was. When Chloe turned 16, she received a brand new BMW with a giant red bow, around $45,000 for someone who had never worked a day. The entire neighborhood came to watch. She screamed with excitement and posted it all over social media, calling it the best day of her life and praising our amazing parents. When I turned 18, I received a used Honda Civic with 185,000 miles on it. My dad bought it from a coworker for $1,800. "It builds character," he said. Chloe stood nearby smiling, likely already thinking about her next request. I graduated from summa cum laude with a 3.2 GPA and left with $45,000 in student loans because I refused to ask my parents for help. I had seen how financial support worked in our house. While studying finance, I worked two part-time jobs, one at a grocery store from 6 p.m. to midnight, and another at a local restaurant on weekends. After graduation, Chloe hit what she considered the ultimate jackpot. She married Jason, a commercial real estate developer earning over $420,000 a year. She now lives in a 9-bedroom house in an exclusive suburb, drives a Tesla Model S, and posts Instagram stories from Cabo, Dubai, and the Maldives. Her social media became a carefully curated display of wealth. Meanwhile, I worked 70-hour weeks, paid down debt, and lived responsibly. Over time, I built $160,000 in savings. My loans are fully paid off. I max out my 401k and IRA annually. I drive a dependable Toyota Camry and rent a modest 2-bedroom apartment. I'm dating Olivia, a nurse practitioner who earns about $95,000. She's practical, financially disciplined, and grounded, qualities my sister often mocked. Chloe never missed a chance to make passive-aggressive comments. She'd say things like, "Ethan, when are you going to get a real job that lets you enjoy life instead of just surviving?" Or, "Maybe if you spent less time on spreadsheets and more time networking, you'd understand how the world works." She'd say this while showing off a new designer purchase, often a Louis Vuitton bag that cost more than my monthly expenses. The worst part was watching my parents nod in agreement. Now, here's what makes this story more significant. Our grandfather, Jack, built a construction empire from nothing. He started with a pickup truck, basic tools, and a willingness to work 16-hour days in any weather. Over decades, he built one of Colorado's largest construction companies. He's worth between $8 and $10 million. More importantly, he believes in hard work, financial responsibility, and earning success, not expecting it. Those lessons stuck with me. The rest of the family treated him like a personal ATM. They lived inflated lifestyles funded by his generosity and still looked down on me. Every year, Grandpa organizes a large Christmas trip and pays for everything because he values family unity. Last year, he chose a luxury ski resort in Vail, charging $1,200 per night for basic rooms, with $250 dinners, $350 spa treatments, and expensive lift tickets. I drove up from Denver after finishing a major project, arriving around 8 p.m. The resort was extravagant, exposed wood beams, massive stone fireplaces, and guests in ski outfits that easily cost $5,000. I wore my regular Columbia jacket and basic snow pants. I wasn't there to compete. I was there for family. At the front desk, I gave my name. The clerk searched, frowned, called her supervisor, and searched again. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't see a reservation under your name." That's when I heard Chloe behind me. "Oh my gosh, Ethan, you actually made it. I wasn't sure you could take time off from your small job." Her tone was overly cheerful, performative. She stepped closer and said loudly, "How strange there's no room reserved for you." Then she leaned in and whispered, I spoke with Grandpa about the sleeping arrangements. We agreed we only needed rooms for real family members this year. Then she raised her voice again. You know, people who actually contribute instead of showing up for freebies. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Grandpa invited everyone. Well, Jason and I have the presidential family suite. Mom and Dad have a corner room with a mountain view. She paused. I guess there just wasn't space for everyone. These places are expensive. The lobby grew quiet. My parents were sitting near the fireplace. When I looked at them, they turned away. Jason stood nearby scrolling through his phone. Their twin boys played unaware. Chloe continued, let's be realistic. You couldn't afford this place on your analyst income. Maybe there's a Holiday Inn down the mountain. She laughed. Guests stared. The staff looked uncomfortable. Grandpa understood, she added. We need to focus on people who matter for the family's future. Jason's firm just secured a $17 million development contract. That's real success. In that moment, it became clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was deliberate. I stood there for about 20 seconds. Chloe looked satisfied, likely expecting me to argue or beg. My parents avoided eye contact. Instead of anger, I felt clarity. You're right, Chloe, I said calmly. Her smile shifted. Excuse me? You're completely right. I should leave. I pulled out my phone and opened a ride-sharing app. I hope you and the real family have a wonderful Christmas. She looked confused. That's it? You're not even going to fight this? No, I'm making a decision based on new information. And with that, I walked out of the resort without knowing that Grandpa was about to take action that would permanently change the family dynamic. Have fun explaining to Grandpa tomorrow morning why I'm not at Christmas breakfast. When I tell him how inappropriate and theatrical you've been, he'll understand. I turned back once more and gave Chloe the calmest, most genuine smile I'd had in months. I'm sure he will, Chloe. I'm confident he'll understand everything clearly. The ride down the mountain gave me time to think, really think, for the first time in years. More importantly, it gave me time to plan. Chloe had made one major mistake that was about to unravel the image she worked so hard to maintain. She assumed I was still the powerless younger brother she used to push around. She had no idea what position I was actually in, or what I knew about the family's real financial situation. Here's what she didn't know. First, I had been helping Grandpa manage his business finances for the past 6 years. Second, I was the one who convinced him to modernize his record keeping and move everything to secure digital systems. Whenever he had questions about investments, tax strategies, retirement planning, or financial analysis, he called me. I knew more about his financial structure and long-term plans than anyone else in the family. I helped set up his online banking, organized his investment portfolios, and digitized decades of records. I had legitimate access to financial information that would shock Chloe if she understood the scope of it. Third, and most important, Grandpa had grown increasingly concerned about the family's spending habits and entitlement. Over the years, he made pointed comments about people living beyond their means and expecting support instead of earning their way. He often questioned what would happen to his hard-earned money after he was gone, and whether anyone truly respected its value. I called him from the airport while waiting for my flight back to Denver. Ethan, what's going on? Shouldn't you be at the resort? I told him the truth. No exaggeration. No emotion-driven storytelling, just facts. Chloe had deliberately excluded me from the reservations. She made specific remarks about real family members. The situation became a public embarrassment in the hotel lobby, and my parents chose not to intervene. There was silence on the line for about 45 seconds. When Grandpa finally spoke, his tone had shifted completely. I believe it's time certain members of this family understand consequences. Grandpa, you don't need to do anything extreme. I'm fine. I'll spend Christmas at home. Ethan, come to my office first thing Monday morning. Bring your laptop and your financial analysis tools. We have serious matters to review. Monday morning, I sat in Grandpa's office. Dark wood paneling, old leather chairs, decades of construction awards lining the walls. It looked like a museum dedicated to disciplined business success. He looked tired, but focused. I want to know exactly how much financial support I've provided to your parents and sister over the years. Every payment, every gift, every loan, every emergency transfer. Can you help me compile a complete analysis? That week, I reviewed 20 years of bank records, transfers, tax documents, canceled checks, and digital transactions. Grandpa gave me full access to both personal and business accounts. What I found was far worse than I expected. Over the last decade, Chloe received $49,000 for her wedding, despite claiming it barely covered expenses. Receipts showed total costs exceeded $78,000. She received $32,000 as a down payment gift for her house, followed by another $28,000 2 years later for a kitchen renovation with high-end finishes. For 5 years, she had been receiving $4,000 per month to assist with living expenses, over $250,000 in direct payments. There were also unpaid emergency loans and $43,000 given for a business opportunity that never materialized. My parents followed a similar pattern. Over the years, they received approximately $37,000 for various projects, over $60,000 in holiday and birthday gifts, funded vacations, jewelry purchases, furniture allowances, and more. Grandpa paid off their $95,000 mortgage early when they claimed financial strain during retirement. In addition, he supplemented their retirement income with $3,500 per month for 6 years, over $220,000, to cover renovations, medical bills, insurance, car payments, and other expenses. Altogether, in the last decade alone, they had received well over $700,000 in direct financial support, not including smaller benefits that were harder to quantify. In comparison, I had asked Grandpa for help only once, a $6,000 loan between jobs after college. I repaid it with interest within 4 months and never requested assistance again. Then I examined Chloe and Jason's financial position through public records and databases accessible through my job. I understand how to read financial filings, court documents, and corporate disclosures. What I found was revealing. Their home carried a mortgage of approximately $750,000 on a property currently valued around $680,000. Both luxury vehicles were leased. Chloe had at least 14 active credit card accounts with balances totaling over $100,000. Jason's company had struggled for 2 years. 3 major projects collapsed due to financing problems. The much-discussed $17 million development deal had been terminated after delays and budget overruns. 2 significant construction loans were in default. Their lifestyle was sustained through debt and Grandpa's monthly support. When I presented Grandpa with a structured report outlining everything, he reviewed it quietly for nearly 15 minutes. Without that $4,000 per month, I said carefully, they would likely face insolvency within 60 days. He closed the folder slowly. Very interesting, he said. I think it's time for certain people to experience accountability. 3 weeks after the ski resort incident, Grandpa called a mandatory family meeting at his house. He stated it was to discuss financial planning and estate matters. Attendance was required for anyone expecting inclusion in his will. I arrived early to help prepare. He had organized everything: bank statements, loan summaries, transfer records, property valuations, business filings, credit reports. Each folder was labeled with a family member's name. Chloe arrived 25 minutes late in her Tesla Model S, dressed in another designer outfit. She appeared irritated at the inconvenience. Jason looked uneasy from the start. My parents entered as if nothing had happened at Christmas. No acknowledgement, no apology. Grandpa opened the meeting formally. I've conducted a full review of my financial support to this family over the last 15 years. Ethan assisted in compiling detailed documentation. It's time we have an honest discussion about money, responsibility, and values. He handed out the folders. I watched Chloe's expression change as she read the numbers in black and white. I want each of you, Grandpa continued, to review those figures and explain why you believe you are entitled to continued financial support at this level. Chloe immediately shifted into defensive mode. Grandpa, raising children is expensive. Jason and I work hard. The economy is unstable. According to these documents, Grandpa interrupted calmly, your husband reports earning $420,000 annually. Please explain why you require an additional $45,000 per year from me. Our mortgage is high because we wanted a good neighborhood. The boys have activities. There are necessary expenses. You chose a house beyond your means. You chose leased luxury vehicles. You chose private programs. Those were voluntary decisions made with the expectation that I would subsidize them indefinitely. My parents attempted to redirect. Dad, retirement is difficult with inflation and medical costs. You retired at 62, expecting permanent income supplementation. You did not save adequately because you assumed I would compensate for it. You treated my generosity. Grandpa was not finished with his decision. I am deeply disappointed and personally offended by how Ethan was treated during our Christmas trip. The deliberate exclusion and public embarrassment were completely unacceptable. It showed exactly who you have become when you think no one is paying attention. Chloe's artificial tears quickly shifted into visible anger. So this is about him? You're really doing this because of him? He's an adult. He should take care of himself instead of depending on Grandpa like a child. Yes, Chloe, Grandpa replied calmly. He does take care of himself. He has never asked me for ongoing support. He paid off his student loans independently. He lives within his means. He treats family members with respect. You may want to learn from that instead of mocking it. Oh, please. He's boring. He spends his time staring at spreadsheets. Jason makes 3 times his salary. We're the successful ones in this family. We're the ones who matter. That was when Grandpa opened one more folder. Since we're discussing Jason's success, he said, looking directly at him, Ethan, would you explain what your financial review showed regarding the commercial real estate sector? This was the moment everything shifted. I opened my laptop and brought up the detailed report I had prepared. Based on public business filings, court records, and state corporate registrations, Jason's company is financially distressed and has been operating under significant pressure for months. Jason went pale. You had no right to investigate my business, he said. All of this is public information, I replied. Your company has defaulted on 4 major construction loans, totaling more than $2.5 million in the last 2 years. Your largest commercial client terminated its contract in September due to delays and cost overruns. You haven't completed a development project over $65,000 since last summer. Chloe looked back and forth between us. The image she presented publicly was beginning to unravel. I continued, your personal finances are also strained. Your home is approximately $85,000 underwater on its mortgage. You carry more than $100,000 in credit card balances across 14 accounts. Your vehicle lease payments total $2,400 per month. The room fell completely silent. Grandpa leaned forward. Ethan, what did you find regarding Chloe's personal spending? Based on transaction records and financial data, Chloe spends roughly $5,200 per month on clothing, accessories, cosmetic services, entertainment, and similar expenses. That figure does not include vacations or larger discretionary purchases. Chloe lost composure. You're invading my privacy. This is insane. You made this relevant, I said calmly, when you publicly humiliated me, when you excluded me from a family event, when you positioned yourself as superior based on a lifestyle funded by debt and someone else's generosity. Actions lead to consequences. Grandpa stood slowly. I believe we've covered everything necessary today. Each of you needs to consider your next steps. Ethan, please stay behind. I'd like to speak with you privately. The rest of the family left in visible frustration. Chloe accused me of destroying the family. Jason looked defeated. My parents were shaken. After they left, Grandpa turned to me with a steady expression. I've been reviewing my estate plan, he said. My attorney agrees that changes are necessary to reflect responsibility and values. 9 months have passed since that meeting. The results have been significant. In April, Jason's company filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Their home went into foreclosure, and they moved into a 2-bedroom rental in a less desirable area. Both vehicles were repossessed within 2 months due to missed lease payments. Chloe took her first steady job in over 10 years. My parents sold their house and downsized to a 1-bedroom condo in a retirement community they could realistically afford. My father returned to work part-time at a hardware store. My mother took a cashier position at a grocery store. Chloe now works at a department store earning $17 per hour. Her social media presence has effectively disappeared. The twins transferred from private school to public school. Complaints eventually stopped when it became clear no one was responding. For the first time in decades, they were managing without financial subsidies. About 3 months after the meeting, my parents called. Ethan, we're sorry about Christmas. We should have supported you. We realize we were wrong. Could you speak to Grandpa on our behalf? We're struggling. I told them I would consider helping if they wrote a detailed handwritten letter acknowledging their treatment of me and taking full responsibility for their financial choices. 2 months ago, Jason contacted me. I know we started off badly. Chloe regrets how she handled Christmas. Is there any way you could help us? Maybe a small loan? I'll repay it with interest. I declined. 6 weeks ago, Chloe called. Ethan, I made a serious mistake. I was wrong. The boys keep asking why we moved, why I have to work, why we can't travel anymore. I'll apologize publicly. I'll admit I was wrong about everything. Just help us fix this. I asked her one question. When you excluded me from the hotel and said it was only for real family, did you consider how that would feel? There was silence. Did you think about basic respect? Did you think about treating your brother with dignity, regardless of income? She tried to respond, but I continued. You assumed I was weak. You believed I needed you. You thought I would always be available as support. That assumption was incorrect, she began pleading. You're right, I said. You are asking me for help, and that reality proves something important. For the first time, the family hierarchy she believed in no longer existed. The difference was no longer about income, image, or social status. It was about accountability, discipline, and self-reliance. And that lesson, unlike financial support, does not come with a monthly payment.